Hello and a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. And welcome to today's Postgrad webinar service. Very exciting one for you today. I'm you over to Monique McKenzie, who'll be taking you through. A reminder, today's session is live. So if you have any questions, please pop it in the Q&A or chat facility. I'm in the background moderating with a couple of staff from St Andrews also. But if you have any questions and you're watching on demand and you're not watching live, today's date is the 16th of February 2026. Please email webinars@postgradsolutions.com and we'll try and make sure that your question is either answered or forwarded over to the university directly. With it being the 16th of Feb today, it could be that some of the things in this messaging in this session might change in the future. So please bear that in mind if you are watching in the months to come. If there's anything that you have any concerns about, any issues at all, you can use the Zoom facility to unsubscribe or opt out or give us your feedback after the session. But for now, Monique, over to you. I'll be back for the Q&A at the end. I'll be hosting the video as well, 3/4 of the way through, and I'll be back then.
Thank you very much, Gareth, and welcome to everybody to our event today. I'm super excited to be talking to you about our portfolio of online programs, but with a special highlight on the excellent programs emerging from the School of International Relations, which you'll hear much more about from our bright and dedicated academics working in this area. So we'll be sharing with you our approach to global learning, but that's through that lens of St Andrews excellence. And as Gareth said, my name is Monique. I'm a professor in statistics. I'm actually working in wildlife crime research, but I'm speaking to you today as the Vice Principal for Digital Education, Research and Environment at the University of St Andrews. And I lead on the online education agenda at a very exciting time as we bring St Andrews to the world via our online programs and short courses. So thank you for slide 2. I guess the primary reason you're here today is probably to hear a bit more about our online programs, but I expect that part of this attraction is actually due to our long-standing and international reputation. So St Andrews is consistently ranked alongside or even in front of Oxford and Cambridge, and that's in the domestic league tables. And that is something that no other UK university has managed to do. And what's also important is that our international reputation is not just isolated to those league tables, but the quality of our programs is regularly and independently confirmed by our external quality agency, which look very closely actually at how we create and deliver our teaching, and also how students experience their education and outcomes with us. We also pay close attention to what our graduates are going on to do afterwards. And in fact, many keep in touch with us well after they graduate as St Andrews alumni. So at St Andrews, we have chosen to build a modern portfolio of online programs, which are not generic and found anywhere, but they are instead aligned with our research strengths. And because we are a research intensive and we manifest these strengths in the online space, we're combining research-led teaching with modern and flexible delivery. And that's across the arts and humanities and science and medicine, to bring us St Andrews education to the world. And that's a distinctive learning experience with small group teaching, personalised support, and genuine interactions with our dedicated academics who are very keen to support you to succeed, 2 of which you'll meet today. Next slide, please. So while we're an ancient university and have been prominent for over 600 years, we are still responding to modern educational needs. And for example, have crafted programs which allow you to study in a way that fits your life. These programs allow students, perhaps like yourselves, which are looking to study at a top UK university without moving your life to join us on site. Many of us, don't we, need to balance our employment with existing or future family commitments, or maybe you've just chosen a life which keeps you grounded outside of St Andrews, as lovely as St Andrews is in Scotland. In particular, you'll have access to a tailored learner journey, starting with an individual advising session about your reasons for study, intentions for pace and level of achievement, but all the time knowing that your progress throughout your study will be visible to you inside your virtual learning environment. So that means you can adapt as you need in order to meet your study ambitions. So we're committed to making sure you can reach an education with us from any location, knowing that our learning community will come from all walks of life and have competing commitments on a daily basis. Next slide, please. So at St Andrews, we've built our online portfolio from scratch. We've chosen not to renovate a long-standing or set of legacy programs. and somehow adapt these for online education. Instead, our programs have all been designed from scratch, designed online for this environment. So that means you'll feel engaged from the start with very high-end quality content, which is a deliberate mix of content to camera, screen recording so you can see code or concepts develop, and observe interviews between academics and external speakers. Sometimes that might be part of full panel discussions. And that's just educational delivery that would not be possible in person with live sessions, with all the impossible logistics of getting world-class experts all in the same room at the same time. Instead, this is delivered to you at a time of your choice and indeed on demand. So we've worked to provide the best provision possible by investing heavily in our equipment, professional teams, and our academics to ensure these programs really set the standard, just like our in-person programs. And in particular, we recognise the flexibility you need to try and meet your needs while being clear about what is required and making sure that your program is connected to the real world where it makes sense, and sometimes very far from the real world when that makes sense instead. Next slide, please. So part of this flexibility lies in the award that you can choose to take. So it might be a postgraduate certificate, which is the equivalent of one semester's full-time study, but at your own pace, or something larger like the postgraduate diploma, which is the equivalent of about 2 semesters study, but at your own pace. Or you might opt for the full master's program, which also includes that capstone module. But that's going to depend, of course, on the purpose for your education. Some prospective students are looking for professional development inside their current roles. Some will be looking to progress inside their career track, but maybe further along that path with perhaps a postgraduate diploma, while some people are looking to reskill altogether and maybe change career with a full master's program. So that's going to depend entirely on your individual circumstances and your learning ambition. But regardless of your intention, you can join at more than one point in the year and choose your pace within some boundaries. So at St Andrews, we've thought very carefully about how to balance flexibility with cohort experience. And that's to ensure that while there's flexibility around your personal circumstances, it's still entirely possible to build that sense of connection with your peers. So you're not on some sort of roll on, roll off carousel. Next slide, please. So in practice, that means a mixture of live sessions and on-demand learning to fit a global learning community, but knowing that you can reach out to your fellow peers via discussion boards or to our academics actually whenever you need. And in practice, we've actually seen a great variety of support arrangements for our online students. Some students are looking for periodic one-to-one meetings, some are happy to work entirely independently, and some have even chosen to visit actually for a couple of weeks as a visitor to work on site with our academics as part of their master's dissertations. And sometimes the project work is jointly with academics and industry experts, while sometimes it's a lot more theoretical and desk-based. But regardless, there's always training with our professional services to help build out your meta skills and to gain those graduate attributes that employers are often looking for. So even those in paid work can benefit from a meeting with our careers service, who can chat to mid-career professionals about their ambitions, and maybe even to put them in touch with our very strong alumni network, who are very keen actually to chat to our students and graduates about their domain areas. So as part of a global learning community, there are also opportunities to connect with each other and to learn from your peers, even while studying online. Next slide, please. So St Andrews is a research-intensive university, as I've mentioned, and this really very much shapes our undergraduate and postgraduate portfolio. And the online environment is very much a part of this. So we've deliberately developed a portfolio of digital postgraduate programs which reflect our research strengths across faculties and academic schools. And so our programs are not limited to the very generic programs with, dare I say it, an add-on around artificial intelligence. So while we absolutely acknowledge the interest in AI from students, employers, and global citizens, and indeed we offer dedicated AI training as part of our data science, data literacy for justice programs, and perhaps more unusually, but equally important, our digital art history and global digital humanities programs. But where we offer this, we have ensured the content is relevant It's designed with purpose and set at the right level for our students and their backgrounds. But today you'll be hearing from our specialists in international relations about the growing portfolio. But you can see from the list, which is not exhaustive, that we have been carefully curating our offer to ensure it's fit for purpose and at the standard expected of St Andrews. Next slide, please. So I want to spend the next couple of slides sharing words from our students about how they are experiencing our online short courses and programs, and just to share some quotes with you about how students are finding their time with us. So for the shorter online provision, from these typical results you can see here, the training is at the level expected, the virtual learning environment was made easy to study online, and they'll be highly likely to continue their education with us. Next slide, please. But for the more extended awards, such as the postgraduate certificates, diploma, and the full masters, they comment on our engaging presentation of course material in our virtual learning environment, and how that can even port into your mobile device if you need to learn on the go, even if that's just for short periods. Their feedback has also told us that regardless of someone's background, we can still set the level to meet your need. And that might be while you come from a country whose native language is not English. We've made sure that the content enables learning regardless, and for you to succeed with us as a student. Next slide, please. This is the final slide from me, which is quite rightly also from our students. And as you can see, that neurodivergent and neurotypical students alike appreciate the clarity and organisational structure of our programs, and that's including the discussion forums and the responsiveness of our staff. We work actually very hard to accommodate learning differences across the spectrum, which many of us experience daily and sometimes even personally. The quality of our video content and variety of educational provision has also been clearly welcomed by our students. And some have even commented on the charisma of our staff as they speak passionately about their areas of interest, and actually how they can excite students across countries and continents about their programs of study. Which brings me nicely to hearing from Dr. Brooke and Dr. Fox about the areas of specialty and the new programs emerging in international relations at St Andrews. Over to you, Nick.
Brilliant. Thank you, Monique. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Nick Brooke. Before I introduce you to myself and to my colleague Amy, we've got a quick video we'd like to show you. Gareth, when you're ready, take it away with the video.
Understanding the implications for policy and practice is essential. The University of St Andrews' fully online conflict and security in policy and practice programme empowers you to develop expertise with real impact. Explore key issues with leading experts and practitioners from human security to armed conflict and peace building. Apply now and shape the future of security and policy.
Okay, thank you. So that was just a quick snapshot in video form. Let's start by introducing ourselves. As we've already highlighted, I'm Nick. I'm a lecturer in the School of International Relations. I'm the programme coordinator for the online MLIT Terrorism, Extremism and Political Violence. I've been working here at the University of St Andrews in IR for more than 10 years at this point. We're also joined by Dr. Amy Fox. Amy, do you want to say a few quick words?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Amy Fox. I'm a senior lecturer here in the School of International Relations, and I'm the programme coordinator for the MSc, Masters of Science in Conflict and Security in Policy and Practice. Just joined St Andrews, having spent 9 years at another institution working in the online learning space as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amy. We'll be hearing from Amy in a few minutes or so. Next slide whenever we're ready, please. So the first question you might be asking is, if you're interested in studying international relations, why study it here at St Andrews? Well, we feel we've developed something of a world-class reputation when it comes to teaching quality and student experience when delivering our programmes. In fact, we've been ranked first in The Guardian's UK University League tables for politics since 2015 when we overtook Oxford. And in the last few years, we've also been ranked first by The Times for politics. League tables are just one metric, but I think it shows we're doing something right. And how is it that we've got to this point? Well, firstly, the school has a very strongly international environment. It's in the name, so you would expect it. Our student body, both in person and online, comes from across the globe. And whilst I'm from just down the coast in Edinburgh, my colleagues bring a hugely international perspective to this unique corner of Fife. As a short example, they focus on topics like the militarization of policing in Brazil and Latin America, topics like the role and the mission of the International Criminal Court. Cutting edge topics like climate and resource politics in Guyana and Suriname, or identity and conflict in Central Asia and the Caucasus. It includes topics like campaigns of political violence in the Basque Country in Northern Ireland and post-conflict transition and reintegration in West Africa. We also pride ourselves on small group teaching, led where we can by experts in the field, which ensures that students learn often from someone who wrote the book on the topic that is being discussed. We also provide a range of specialized modules, allowing you to tailor your studies to the topics that interest you the most. And later on in today's talk, we'll give you some examples of the kinds of topics and modules available to you. And finally, we have a wealth of experience supporting online learning and online learners in the School of International Relations, whether those are the short courses we offer all the way up to the online master's programs we're talking to you about today. I've been involved with teaching, supporting, coordinating our online programs for more than a decade in my role. And with a range of colleagues, I've been helping to develop a suite of online options. To learn a little bit more about one of those, I'm going to hand over now to my colleague, Amy Fox. Amy.
Thank you so much, Nick. So as Nick's highlighted, as Monique's highlighted as well, the Conflict and Security in Policy and Practice programme very much draws on the School of International Relations' deep experience and expertise in online education. And as the programme coordinator, I very much see this programme as an essential bridge, as it were, between the worlds of academia, but also of policy making. It's also what I suppose we would call a community of practice. It's where students can learn from and network with peers from across the world. Now, we live in a world, unfortunately, where conflict, where security are rarely out of the headlines. What this program is designed to do is equip our students with the knowledge, the insights, the skills to sift the signal from the noise. Now, I want to be clear, you don't need a background in international relations or political science to study on this programme. We will help you develop that foundational knowledge upon which you can then build and specialise. Now, to give you a little bit of a sense of what this programme is all about. The MSc is part-time and it's designed to be completed or taken over 3 to 5 years. This enables you, as Monique highlighted at the start, to fit your studies around busy professional or indeed personal lives. Now, beyond set assessment deadlines, the programme is self-paced. There are no fixed times for lectures or seminars, and this course has been designed specifically for the online environment. It's taught via recorded lectures, via asynchronous activities such as discussion forums, quizzes, reflective writing tasks. This all means that you can engage with the readings, with the activities and the lectures to fit around your own professional and personal circumstances. Now, I mentioned that the programme is this bridge, right, between academia and the policymaking or practice world. One of the ways that we operationalise that is through something called authentic assessment. Now, what do I mean by that? These are assessments that are designed to mirror real-world activities and responsibilities. They're there to develop skills that are applicable beyond the virtual classroom that you'll be sharing. So to give you an example, the kinds of assignments and assessments our students undertake would be writing policy briefs and memos, compiling literature reviews, and conducting horizon scanning activities. These are all things that employers are interested in and move beyond the traditional essay as a form of expression. Now, a couple of points on practicalities that you can see on the slide here. Fees, you will see that there are 3 fee levels here. Now, these align with 3 different qualifications. And don't worry, I'm going to explore what they are in the next few slides. But in brief, the postgraduate certificate or PG cert and the postgraduate diploma or PG dip are shorter alternatives to the MSc, and they can be taken in a shorter amount of time. Now, intakes, as Monique highlighted, to ensure that added flexibility, we have 2 intakes to this program, one in January and one in September. So if you're keen to join us for our September start, the deadline, as you can see on screen there, is the 1st of September 2026. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Now, I mentioned these different qualifications, and what I want to do now is take you through those 3 qualifications and what they look like and what the expectations are. So the first is our postgraduate certificate, our PG cert. This is designed to be taken over 1 to 2 years, and the total current fee for this is £6,000. Now, you will study 3 core modules. These are mandatory modules that very much align with the key research strengths and interests within the School of International Relations. They're very much there to provide you with that foundational knowledge. So we have research in conflict and peace. This will introduce you to key themes and concepts in peace and conflict studies, but fundamentally it is there to help you build and develop your own independent research skills. You then have the applied introduction to security studies, again, introducing you to key theories and concepts in security studies as a subfield. And I think importantly, testing those concepts and theories using real world security challenges, such as environmental change or space security. And then finally, the 3rd core module, Introduction to War and Strategy, which I've developed and I lead on, blends the academic research on those 2 phenomena with the policy and practice implications of prosecuting war and making strategy. Now, you will see on screen now I've got 1 optional module. So you get to take 1 optional module that has been developed by one of my colleagues on their research expertise. Now, I have a slide a little bit later that gives you an overview of these modules. But just to give you a taster, these range from gender and conflict, sanctions, the drug trade in the Americas, and the future of war. So again, to recap, PG cert can be taken over 1 to 2 years. Next slide, please. Next, we have the PG diploma, the PG dip. As you can see, this is very similar to the postgraduate certificate, but you get to study another 4 optional modules. So in total, for the PG dip, you'd be taking those 3 core modules that I explained, and then 5 additional optional modules in total. And I think this is fantastic because it really allows you to specialize and to create your own journey through this program. Now, the PG dip can be taken over 2 to 4 years, and the current total fee for that is £12,000. Next slide, please. So for the MSc, the Master of Science qualification, as you can see, very, very similar to the postgraduate diploma, 3 core modules, 5 optional modules, but you also complete a final research project module. Now, this final project is a significant piece of original independent research that you undertake with the support of an academic supervisor. And what we've tried to do here is design this in what we call a portfolio format. Now, what do I mean by this? This means that the project will have different assessment tasks, and that enables you to showcase your research skills, your ability to write and to communicate for different audiences. So this might include a long form policy or research report. There might be a reflective writing task attached to that, and also elements of a literature review as well. This total fee for this is £18,000. And as I say, the MSc can be taken over 3 to 5 years to really maximise flexibility. Now, whatever award level you choose, you will develop a thorough grounding in conflict and security with the opportunity to specialise with modules offered by colleagues very much working at the absolute cutting edge of their research area. Can I have the next slide, please? Wonderful. So this slide very much summarizes the core and the current optional modules available for the conflict and security program. And as you can see, the optional modules on the side there cover a range of different topics, and I'd be happy to answer questions that you might have about these modules in the Q&A. Now, I just want to draw your attention to the box at the bottom left there. So students studying on the PG diploma or the MSc will take those 5 optional modules, but of those 5 modules, up to 2 of them can be taken from other online programs in the School of International Relations, such as the Terrorism, Extremism and Political Violence program, which my colleague, Dr. Nick Brooke, will talk about shortly. So again, this gives you the ability to specialise, to benefit further from the depth and the breadth of expertise within the school. So again, enabling you to follow your own learning journey through this. Next slide, please. Now, before handing over to Nick, I'd like to talk quite briefly about scholarship opportunities for the programme. As Monique noted at the beginning, the university is absolutely committed to online education, and as a reflection of that, is offering scholarships to support the conflict and security programme. Now, each year, the university offers up to 6 St Leonard's Digital Education Scholarships, and these provide £6,000 towards course fees. Now, these scholarships are currently only available for students who are studying on the MSc pathway, so the pathway that lasts from 3 to 5 years. In terms of applying for a St Leonard's scholarship, this can be completed upon submission of your application to the MSc. Your scholarship application requires some additional materials, so we would be looking for a short statement on your financial situation, but also an opportunity for you to talk about your suitability for the programme as well. Now, there may be some of you on the call who are serving members or veterans of the UK Armed Forces. The programme is accredited by the Ministry of Defence's Enhanced Learning Credits Administration Service. So for those of you who are serving members of the UK Armed Forces or veterans, then there is the possibility for you to offset some of the course fees through the ELC scheme. So in summary, we're really proud of the conflict and security programme, and we are genuinely delighted that students can access our world-class research and teaching here at St Andrews, regardless of where they're based in the world. I'll hand over to Dr. Nick Brooke, who will now introduce the online MLIT in terrorism, extremism and political violence, along with some information on key skills and careers opportunities across both of these programmes. Thank you.
Amazing, Amy. Thank you so much. So the MLIT Terrorism, Extremism and Political Violence is a continuation of a programme that we've been running online for a number of years, specifically focusing in on these topics. But we've been learning very closely from colleagues in other parts of the university about some of the new opportunities for online learning. So we've spent some time redesigning it to make best use of these developments, but also to recognise the increasing importance and focus on the study of extremism for our field, policymakers and practitioners. Many of the details are very similar to what Amy has just told you about for the conflict and security programme, so I'm not going to go into too much more depth. One unique element I'd like to highlight is that for the Terrorism, Extremism, and Political Violence programme, we run an annual postgraduate workshop every year, and we've done this for more than 15 years. And we use this as an opportunity to invite our student community from around the world to come to St Andrews, to meet with staff, hear about cutting-edge research, and network with current students and alumni. You'll find more information on the QR code. I'm more than happy to answer any questions about the Terrorism, Extremism, and Political Violence programme in the Q&A if you have questions. Next slide when we're ready, please. Brilliant. So a couple of slides I wanted to speak about before we wrap up, touch on some of the things that both Monique and Amy have said at various stages. And regardless of whichever programme you are pursuing, whilst the focus of your studies will be on the topics you're most interested in, as important for us and for you can be the development of a range of skills, the sorts of attributes that will set you apart from others on the job market. This will include things like independent research, the ability to identify a topic and quickly discern the best way to research it, making use of modern technologies like AI and large language models, and also tried and trusted methods in terms of desk research and so on to support you in this process. Throughout your studies, you'll have a range of opportunities to utilize and hone independent research skills, and we'll help you with that. Linked to this is the need for sharp analysis. We'll work closely with you in a range of different settings, from coursework to group discussions, to help you identify key insights from your work and what we can take from this and apply to other settings. And we'll aim to build that confidence around your analytical skills. Throughout your time with us, you'll also undertake written and presentation tasks in a range of settings, with a focus on tailoring the way you write or presenting to a range of different audiences. As Amy's highlighted, we know not every employer is looking for someone who can write an academic essay. So we embed and implement a series of authentic assessments to ensure that we're developing the skills you'll need in the workplace. And beyond the support that is embedded into the program around skills, there are a huge range of other resources provided by the university that are available to all online students. Our Lifelong Learning Institute offers a huge package of training, workshops and events that vary in focus, from things like improving writing skills to using very specific software packages. And next slide, whenever you're ready. All of this is to help you think about the next step after your time with St Andrews. The next step is something that we think about closely and have thought about closely when designing, when building the program and the modules that are a part of it, with the support of university's career service along the way. So in line with this, you'll learn from some of the foremost experts in academic fields who've got extensive research careers, but have often worked directly on policy and with practitioners. As an example here, a number of our colleagues from the School of International Relations, such as Professor Phillips O'Brien, who we saw being interviewed by Amy in that video earlier, have been sought out by a range of think tanks, news outlets, and governments for their views on, for instance, the war in Ukraine. As we've spoken about already, the styles of assessment you'll undertake are aligned with the styles of writing and presentation that we know are relevant to recruiters and the types of organizations and agencies that you might want to work for and that we work closely with in our research. Throughout the time with us, you'll have opportunities to meet staff and meet fellow students in a range of organizations that you might want to pursue a career with. And vitally, our Career Centre is ideally equipped to support you and your next steps, with a range of tailored options in terms of helping you, for instance, with the application process, or maybe putting you in touch with alumni and relevant organizations, or helping you to prepare for interview. All of that support is available to online students. We really do make every effort to ensure our online student populations feels just as strongly as part of the St Andrews community as those that we see walking the pier on a Sunday morning. Next slide, please. Right, that's us. Thank you very much for listening, folks. We're going to turn it over to you for your questions. I'll hand back to Gareth to chair this.
Nick, thank you very much. And Monique and Amy, if we can welcome you back onto screen as well. If we can just leave the screen as it is, Hannah, that would be great also. Monique, I'm going to come to yourself first, if that's okay. I'm going to try and do this in order. So we'll talk about the international relations aspects in a moment. But Monique, talk to me about the online kind of sector, because there was a well-known myth, I would say about 15, 20 years ago, that studying online doesn't have the same impact as it does on campus. There are certain countries, China to name one of them, didn't see online as a standard master's degree, therefore were reluctant to use that. Now, I know that's a myth and that's completely put to bed, but what do you want to say to those students that will inevitably go, well, surely there's an option to study on campus. It would be better to do it on campus.
Yeah, I think it's an old idea, Gareth, and I think it's really a hangover from COVID. I think many of us who went through that period, who were either learning or teaching or in senior management, have a kind of an allergy to the kind of the Teams delivery, which is really just an online version of an in-person education, and that is not this. So what we've been doing is generating programs, as I said, designed for the online environment, which are not just a webinar version of what you would find in class, but actually chunked up in a way that it's interesting, it's engaging, and actually making use of a portfolio of assessments, which might be actually more difficult to do in person. And actually, as we even saw in that short video, getting experts together to talk about these things as part of a panel discussion just is not possible in person, actually. So it provides a lot more flexibility that way. And also, if you look at the demographics of the world, actually, in many places, people are having to reskill and retrain in order to meet that global economy in the market. And the idea that we just take young people, if you like, and put them through traditional education into the economy is really, it's not the full picture. So I think the online delivery really adds to that. And it's, as I say, designed for the online environment. I'm really proud of what we're doing here. Students can still come and graduate in person if they'd like to. They still receive a degree from St Andrews. It doesn't say online after it or anything like that. It's as good, some would argue better, than an in-person education, actually, because of the flexibility that it provides to people.
And also, Monique, without wanting to just go off on a tangent about on campus, because there's still very much a place for that. It's a great place to go and study if online's not for you. A lot of the education now on campus is done online. You're spending a lot of time in your room doing assessments online. There are a lot of universities out there and a lot of learning, which I won't quote the university, but certain universities are spending 60% of their time doing studies online anyway, even when you move there. So actually that flexibility that has moved into on-campus learning is just as much there with online learning, which is great. Again, Monique, if we can just carry on with kind of the admissionsy types of questions quickly. Students have said, the intake dates, you've put obviously there September and January, which in itself is very flexible, by the way. When should they be looking to apply? When are those kind of deadlines? Obviously, I'm presuming for a September start date, the deadline will be as late as possible. But how much time realistically does one student need to prepare, get everything in place, get all the things that fall into motion to make it happen?
I mean, I think as soon as possible, really. And I think a discussion with the school is a really excellent way to start. I think that nice discussion with experts like Amy and Nick in the school can talk through what are their education ambitions, what are their career plans, what's the intended pace of the study. I think earlier is better. We do see students apply quite late in our online programs compared to our in-person programs because you don't need to apply for a visa, you don't need to lift and shift your life, etc. So we certainly see students applying later than our in-person programs, but it doesn't have to be that way. And then you can make the right decision at the right time. It's an investment, isn't it? Not just in financially, but also in your time. And you usually have to fit it in around your family and other kind of caring commitments, etc., or paid work. So there's lots to consider. So earlier the better.
Yeah, and Amy, if I can come to you at this point, your conflict and security and policy and practice, I was fascinated watching it myself. I think it's one of those things that when you hear part-time 3 to 5 years, you're like, wow, that's really different. That allows real flexibility and allows you, I think you mentioned, to perhaps get on with your career whilst furthering your studies. Because of that, what type of student do you typically see? Is it I mean, Monique mentioned it earlier, the more traditional student when they're about 22, 23 coming into it, but because of the flexibility you've got, is that average age perhaps a bit higher?
Yeah, thanks, Gareth. That's a really, really great question. I can give you some sort of insights from our current student body. So absolutely, we have students who you might think of as, I don't really like using the word traditional postgraduate students, but those who might have just come out of a undergraduate degree and are looking to really start a career whilst engaging in that continuous professional development. We have students who have maybe had caring responsibilities, whether that's raising children or a family, and have decided that this is their point to do something that is about their personal development, about upskilling. We've got students who work in government, who work in think tanks, the policy world, who are really trying to brush up their knowledge, having maybe been outside of academia for a little while and looking for that edge, as it were, to maybe go for the next promotion, to burnish their skills as well. So I'll be very, very reluctant to typecast our cohort. But the fact that we have people across, different nationalities, different demographics, age groups, and, with time in or out of higher education, for me, that is one of the great things about online education, is that diversity of experience and background the discussion forums are so alive with these different perspectives, different interpretations of the readings. And for me, as the coordinator, I'm constantly learning from students. This isn't me filling up, students' heads with knowledge. This is a co-created environment, and that's why I refer to it as a community of practice. And I think that is a really powerful way. It's the aspiration that we're seeking to deliver with this program.
Absolutely. And if I'm right in thinking as well, you don't need an undergrad degree to obviously enroll for this. You can have it based upon professional experience. Nick, if I can come to you at this point, how important is that? How engaging does that make the online sessions when you're talking to people? The fact that it might not be the fact they've got an undergrad degree, it could be that their professional experience comes from a different angle and provides perhaps a more engaging classroom,
Yeah, it
online albeit.
provides more variety. I had experiences of teaching where I was talking about a subject to someone who had been working in that field, for 25 years and was suddenly feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome, but we were able to kind of work on the different perspectives we brought to it. I think it's important to highlight as regularly as we can that we do not expect students applying to our online programs to have an undergraduate degree. I've worked with a range of students who have come onto our programs with no academic experience, and we tailor the program to find ways to support them in things they might be unfamiliar with. If they haven't done an undergraduate degree, they might not know what we're expecting for an essay. So we think, how do we tailor our initial assessments to help build those skills? And we've done that with the Conflict and Security program, the Terrorism, Extremism, Political Violence program, to help embed those skills and kind of push past some of the elements of the hidden curriculum early on. And I've seen these students go on and have tremendous success to take the next step in their career, to do further study, to do PhD. It's absolutely not a hurdle in terms of applying for these programs. We welcome students with a broad range of backgrounds and perspectives.
Amy, you mentioned earlier about the funding and scholarships opportunities for students. There are some options, of course. Are there external options as well? Obviously, I'm thinking off the top of my head, Chevening, Marshall, Commonwealth. There are some third parties out there. Can you collaborate with them from a student's perspective? And do they need to put in the hard yards first, or is that automatically applied when they do put forward their application?
Thanks, Gareth. I might have to bring in Nick here, having
Yeah, of
his
course.
long experience of
Yeah.
working in online education in the school. Certainly, our aspiration further down the line is to apply for Commonwealth digital scholarships. To ensure that we have the ability to offer full scholarships to students. At the moment, we have the St Leonard's Scholarship. If you're based in the UK, you may be eligible for funding through the Student Loans Company, the various Four Nations equivalent of that. And of course, we've really worked on and thought about a key potential demographic being armed forces personnel as well. So making sure that the program is accredited with the Ministry of Defence was important to us. Nick, in terms of Chevening and others, and of course Monique as well, as the leader on all of this, it'd be interesting to get your thoughts about those scholarship opportunities as well.
I'm happy to take this first. So we've supported students on Commonwealth scholarships in a range of our in-person programs in the past. So it's something that we're closely aware of. I want to try and support if we can. Very competitive process, of course, but we're very keen to pursue that. But the university has made efforts to ensure that they have collected all the information they can about taught scholarships. I'm going to share a link in the chat when I finish speaking that kind of gives an example of some of those. Sometimes I see funding pots that are very specific, that are tailored to one particular part of the world. Sometimes it's a bit more broad. It does vary, and where we can, we try and share this information on the landing page for the website, so students just can click through straight away to the opportunities. But yeah, we try and, if we see an opportunity come up, we try and make sure if we can apply for it to be available to our students, we do. If it's just something where we want to pass on, we will do it that way. But Monique, anything else you want to add? I can share that link in the chat.
Yes, I mean, on the Commonwealth scholarships, these programs aren't yet on that list, if you like, but we'll be applying for that this year. It depends on how lucky we will be to be selected by the Commonwealth. Yeah. They're excellent scholarships where they exist. What we have done in the background is make sure that students can pay on a payment plan, if you like. Once we work out what their intention of study is and their duration and pace of study, then we can set up a payment plan which is in line with their studies. So it doesn't have to be a big investment upfront, but students can pay as they go, if you like, as they start to develop through the program. But we do all that we can to try and apply for the scholarships possible. But as you said, Gareth, this isn't kind of a cheap version of an in-person education, but something we've really dedicated to and we've invested in. And
Yeah.
students, I think, really are seeing the benefits as they come through the programs. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pleased you mentioned that, Monique, because I think one thing that struck me watching this, because this is new to me, any student watching this is, I'm seeing this firsthand as well. This is not rehearsed, this is just raw footage. So, one thing that strikes me about this is rather than going down there, oh, it's online, it needs to be perhaps a little bit more cost efficient. You've gone for the let's increase the standard of the learning,
That's right.
which is great to hear and great to see because people will pay for a good product no matter what it is they're paying for, and especially if it enhances their education and career, which is great. If we can talk about the internationals relations as a whole, because it's such a broad topic and it's so difficult because it is nation by nation. Wherever you're from will be different in that country to the UK from where this is, of course, hosted. How do you keep up to date with all the policy changes, with everything that's going on in the world? And how difficult does that make it for academics and staff at the university, especially online as well, to portray that? Amy, if I could start with you.
Sure, thanks, Gareth. I mean, it's a perennial challenge that's not just limited to the online space either. And I think although we obviously have our recorded lectures, which I will stress are not hour-long lectures, we've really thought about how easy it would be if you were, say, on a train and you had, a little bit of time that you could watch a 10-minute recorded lecture or perhaps access the reading to try and give you that information in a very succinct way, supported by readings and activities. And I think the activities are really where we can keep up to date, as it were, is that actually bringing in real world challenges and crises, etc., is that there is always that constant link to the real world, as it were. So, for example, on the applied introduction to security module, some of the topics we talk about are space security. There's so much space junk in the atmosphere, and there's been a really great report recently done by the UK government about the dangers of that. So we would potentially use that in our discussion forum to talk about the implications. Weapons of mass destruction, not necessarily something limited to the Cold War, for instance, the 1945 period onwards, but thinking about the threat of weapons of mass destruction in the context of the Russia-Ukraine war, for instance. So yes, the lectures are recorded, but colleagues working on this programme are constantly looking for opportunities to make sure that this is as cutting edge and as current as we can possibly make it. And I think that's where that bridge is really important, is that the key concepts, theories, language that we'll be providing you with from the academic world, we're constantly looking for ways to challenge that, to test that, to apply that by trying to keep the material as current and up to date as possible.
Can we talk about the career service in a bit more detail as well? We saw it on one of the slides, and it's so key to everything everyone does in education. It's the whole reason we do it, is to further our studies, to hopefully hope our career in the long term. What partnerships on a global scale do you have, and how important is it to you as a university that there is a bit of a hand-holding exercise once they graduate online, that you're not just a number and they go, you do help them long term as well? Monique, can I come to you?
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, I mean, I've had a great set of conversations with Lorna Duggan. She's the director of our career service. And we would encourage students to get in touch with the career service as early as possible when they start their studies, because we do have an extensive global network of alumni who are very keen. In fact, they're reaching out all the time to try and talk to our students, and that's across domains and specialties. And back to one of the original questions, actually, about the demographics of students on our online programs. This is outside of conflict and security, but more broadly across our programs. The average age is about 35 years old of these students on our online programs. And many of these, in fact, I think almost all students who are coming in on these programs are already in paid work. So they're actually looking for mid-career advice rather than early career advice, as we often see with younger students. So we've been attuning our career service to exactly this type of professional. So we encourage those conversations. Lorna's able to put them in touch with people who are working in the community to have talk, maybe even a type of mentorship. Actually, we have a mentorship program where students can access. So, and back to the question just before, actually, about keeping up to date. It's actually easier to keep up to date with an online program because you can add in a modular way extra content, maybe new interviews or discussion pieces, podcasts, for instance, which is actually a little bit harder to do in person. So it absolutely lends itself to flexibility and to being kept up to date. I think I've covered off a couple of questions.
Yeah, excellent. Can we just finish off as well, Amy and Nick, this is probably more towards yourselves. Um, Talk to me about what you would expect a student typically to have before they arrive on the program. I know it's quite broad because obviously you don't have to have an undergrad degree. There will be many students that go in, I'm studying food policy, I'm studying textiles, I'm studying business, I'm doing law. What would it be that you're specifically looking for when students are applying to go, ah, that's the buzzword, that's what I'm looking for? Or is there not that? Is it very broad and open-minded? Nick, if I can start with you, then we'll move on to Amy.
One word, passion,
Okay.
is what I'm always looking for with reviewing student applications, which I've done in a variety of different ways for a number of years. I want to know why a student wants to come and learn from us, because I also want to help stoke that passion and benefit from their enthusiasm and benefit from the way they're going to contribute, as has been highlighted earlier. By Amy, we are learning as much from our students as we are teaching our students at times. So I want to have a classroom full of passionate students who care about the topic and care about learning about the topic and care about doing something with it at the far end. And yeah, to go back to your point, Gareth, you don't necessarily need an undergraduate degree. You don't necessarily need to have read a core text or have polished writing skills. We can work on those things. We can develop those skills. There are things we can do in the school. There are things that the Lifelong Learning Institute will support us with. We can't create passion out of thin air. So that's what I want to see. Amy, I don't know how you would see it.
Oh, you've taken my response as well. Then, when I'm looking at the applications for this program, as I have been doing over the last few months, students who really, or applicants who really take the time to articulate, like, why St Andrews, why this program, like what is motivating them, what is driving them. It could be, this is my opportunity to really do something for me. I want to understand what it means to be a global citizen in the world that we're living in, and I want to do that at St Andrews. Is really getting a sense of the applicant's self, their authentic self, and as Nick said, their passion. We can't create that. We can stoke it. We can't necessarily create it, and that is what makes each applicant individual, and that's what makes them incredibly wonderful contributors to the programs that we offer. So put yourself into the application. What motivates you, what inspires you, and that's really, really fundamental for us to get a sense of you and your relationship to St Andrews and the program.
Yeah, and any students watching as well, we use AI every day now. All day, every day. A lot of people use artificial intelligence, the platforms that there are. You cannot get passion from AI. It comes from within and it comes from what you are passionate about. And AI is effectively a robot. So that is not you. So I encourage anyone that is not sure and is using AI to make sure they are just putting the work in themselves and making sure that it comes from them also. Just to wrap things up then, Monique and Nick and Amy, whoever wants to answer this, best place to apply. Want to find out more information? I know, Nick, you've been putting some bits in the chat, which is great. But for those that are watching on demand over the next few months, what are the next steps? Monique, let's start with you.
Well, I would encourage students to get in touch with the school. Always get in touch with the module coordinators if it's a particular module, or the program leads, because as we've just been talking about, it's about passion. And I think that really comes across in the personal interactions. And St Andrews is all about a personal approach to education, and we do it in person and now we do it online. So please just to get in touch with the school and to start the process. Yeah.
Excellent. And Amy and Nick, if you just want to wrap up quickly, just obviously thank yous to people for watching, that would be great. And also what they can expect from a classroom if they were to join.
Sure, I'm happy to go. So in terms of, contacting us in the school, you can see on the slide there, IR online at st-andrews.ac.uk. Regardless whether it's conflict and security or terrorism, extremism, and political violence, please get in touch with us if you have any questions. What to expect in the classroom, fun, engaging materials, interaction with staff who are, working at one of the, if not the best university in the United Kingdom. It's a great environment. Our students are really enjoying it. So I would say have a look at our prospectus page, have a look at the modules that are on offer. There's little detailed, descriptions of what those modules look like. And if you have any questions, then get in touch. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, not
Excellent.
much I'd add to what Amy said, other than to say thanks for coming along and listening and for your questions. I'm afraid we can't answer some of the more technical ones about fees and funding, but hopefully there are parts of the university that can. So please do get in touch with them directly. Where we can answer the questions, we will. Where we can't, we'll pass them along to the right people. But do get in touch if you're interested in pursuing anything we discussed further.
Superb. Thank you, Nick. So just to recap then quickly, we've heard from obviously Monique, Amy, and Nick. We've heard about the flexibility of the two different programs in particular, 3 to 5 years, which is great. Monique mentioned the average age is around about 35, which is fantastic to hear actually, because so many people think they're excluded from a certain age or certain
Absolutely
circumstance.
not. Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
it's people that normally have families think that
Yeah.
no, can't do it, but absolutely you can in a certain stage of your career. And most importantly, if you are looking for funding or scholarships, not everyone offers a £6,000 bursary or scholarship option, so it's worth exploring and explore those third-party options as well. But for now, Monique, Amy, and Nick, and to Hannah in the background as well, thank you for your time. This will be on demand very soon later this week. And if you have any questions, ironline at standrews.ac.uk is the one, or webinars at postgradsolutions.com. To all three of you, take care. Thank you. Bye bye.